15. Travel secrets. Every passenger needs to know before flying. In 2026, airports look calm on the surface. Bright lights, clean floors, organized lines, friendly announcements telling travelers exactly where to go. But behind that calm environment is something most passengers never realize: a hidden system. Airports aren't just transportation hubs. They are carefully designed environments built to move thousands of people quickly, manage behavior, and quietly influence the decisions travelers make every single day. And if you don't understand how that system works, flying can become stressful, confusing, and expensive. Here's the reality most passengers never think about. Two travelers can walk into the same airport with the same ticket, the same carry-on bag, and the same destination. Yet their experience can be completely different. One traveler passes through security quickly, boards smoothly, keeps their overhead bin space, and enjoys a comfortable flight. The other gets delayed at security, loses their bag space, gets flagged for extra screening, or even misses their connection. Not because of bad luck, because of knowledge. Airports and airlines rely on one simple truth: most passengers don't understand how the airport system actually works. In 2026, flying has changed more than most people realize. New security scanners, automated boarding systems, dynamic airport pricing, behavior monitoring at checkpoints, boarding strategies designed to control crowds. These systems are always working quietly in the background while travelers rush through the terminal without noticing. But once you understand them, everything about flying becomes easier. In this video, you'll discover 15 travel secrets every passenger needs to know before flying in 2026. You'll learn why airport prices spike when you're tired, why security rules change from airport to airport, how boarding groups secretly manipulate passenger behavior, and why calm travelers move through airports faster than everyone else. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because every week we share powerful travel tips, airport hacks, and insider secrets that help you travel smarter, faster, and stress-free. Now, let's start with the first airport secret most travelers only realize after they've already spent too much money inside the terminal. Secret number 1: airport pricing targets. Tired travelers. Most travelers assume airport prices are simply higher because rent is expensive or stores have limited competition. But the real reason goes much deeper. Airport pricing is designed around a simple psychological truth: tired people make faster, less careful decisions. By the time most passengers arrive at the terminal, they've already been dealing with traffic, parking, luggage, and the stress of getting to the airport on time. When they finally reach the gate area, they're hungry, thirsty, and mentally exhausted. That's exactly when airport retailers expect you to start spending. A bottle of water that costs $1 outside the airport can easily cost $5 inside. A simple sandwich may cost 3 times its normal price. Airports call this captive demand. Once you pass security, you have very limited choices. You can't leave easily, and you usually don't have time to shop around. The placement of shops is also intentional. Most restaurants and convenience stores are located after security checkpoints. That's because once passengers clear security, they feel relief. Their guard drops. They relax, and that's when impulse spending increases. Even seating areas are sometimes limited near gates to encourage travelers to sit in cafes or restaurants. Lighting, music, and store layouts are designed to slow you down just enough to make a purchase. Smart travelers avoid this trap by preparing ahead of time. They eat before arriving at the airport. They bring an empty water bottle to refill after security. And most importantly, they decide what they're willing to spend before entering the terminal. Because once fatigue sets in, logic disappears, and airport pricing takes over. Secret number 2: security rules change by airport. Many travelers believe airport security rules are exactly the same everywhere in a country. But that's one of the biggest misconceptions about flying. While national agencies create general security guidelines, individual airports often enforce those rules differently. This means something that passes through security at one airport might be flagged or confiscated at another. There are several reasons for this. Different airports use different screening equipment. Some airports have newer scanners that can clearly detect electronics and liquids inside bags, while others rely on older technology that requires more manual inspections. Staff training also plays a role. Security officers are trained to make judgment calls based on their experience, the current threat level, and the situation at the checkpoint. During busy travel periods, officers may enforce rules more strictly simply to maintain control of large crowds. Another factor is recent incidents or alerts. If a specific airport recently dealt with a suspicious item or security issue, officers may temporarily increase screening sensitivity. That means travelers could face stricter inspections even if they followed the same packing routine they used on previous trips. This explains why travelers sometimes say they allowed this item last time. In many cases, they're telling the truth. But security enforcement changes based on location, equipment, and real-time conditions. Experienced travelers avoid surprises by packing conservatively. Instead of pushing the limits with borderline items, they remove anything that could create confusion. Liquids stay well below allowed limits, electronics are easy to remove, and questionable items are left at home. The key lesson is simple. Security rules may be national, but enforcement is local. Preparing for the strictest interpretation ensures you won't face unexpected problems at the checkpoint. Secret number 3. The shortest security line is often the slowest. When most passengers approach airport security, they instinctively scan the room and choose the shortest line. It feels like the obvious choice. But surprisingly, the shortest line is often the slowest. That's because security speed depends less on the number of people in line and more on how prepared those people are. One unprepared traveler can slow down an entire lane. Imagine someone who reaches the scanner and suddenly starts removing shoes, digging through their bag for liquids, and searching for their laptop. While they do that, everyone behind them is forced to wait. Now multiply that delay by families traveling with multiple bags, first-time flyers who aren't familiar with the process, or passengers carrying oversized luggage. Suddenly, a short line can become a slow-moving traffic jam. Experienced travelers use a completely different strategy. Instead of counting people, they observe behavior. Business travelers, solo passengers, and people carrying backpacks usually move quickly because they already know the routine. Another clue is the behavior at the scanner itself. If you notice frequent bag checks or long conversations between officers and passengers in a particular lane, it's usually a sign that the line will move slowly. Technology can also affect speed. Some lanes use newer scanners that allow electronics to stay inside bags, while older machines require everything to be removed. A longer line with newer equipment may actually move much faster. The smartest travelers pause for a few seconds before choosing a lane. They observe the flow, watch how quickly people are moving through the scanner, and then commit to their choice. Because at airport security, speed is determined by preparation, not by line length. Secret number 4. Boarding groups are psychological control. Boarding groups appear to be a simple system designed to keep passengers organized. Group 1 boards first, followed by Group 2, Group 3, and so on. But the real purpose of boarding groups isn't fairness, it's behavioral control. The moment a boarding announcement begins, something interesting happens. Passengers immediately stand up, even when their group hasn't been called yet. Suddenly, the gate area becomes crowded. People form loose lines, and everyone feels a sense of urgency. Airlines understand this reaction very well. Boarding groups trigger a subtle fear of missing out. Passengers worry that if they don't get on the plane quickly, they'll lose overhead bin space or somehow fall behind. In reality, if you have an assigned seat, no one else can take it. Your place on the plane is already secured. The urgency created by boarding groups mainly benefits the airline. It keeps passengers focused on getting on the aircraft instead of questioning delays or gate changes. It also reduces chaos by encouraging passengers to move in predictable waves. Another important detail is that boarding group enforcement often varies. At some gates, agents check boarding groups strictly. At others, they allow passengers to board earlier than their assigned group if the line is moving smoothly. Frequent flyers understand this dynamic and behave differently. Instead of rushing to stand up immediately, they remain seated and board when the crowd has thinned out. This allows them to avoid congestion in the aisle and reduces the stress of standing in line for long periods. Once you realize boarding groups are designed to guide passenger behavior rather than guarantee fairness, the pressure disappears, and suddenly, boarding becomes much calmer and far less stressful. Secret number 5. Overhead bin space is managed. One of the biggest fears travelers have during boarding is losing overhead bin space for their carry-on bag. That fear causes many passengers to rush toward the gate the moment boarding begins. But here's the truth most travelers never hear. Overhead bin space isn't truly first come, first served. Airlines actually manage overhead bin space throughout the aircraft. Flight attendants often redirect bags to specific bins to keep weight balanced and ensure space is distributed across different rows. Even if you place your bag above your seat early, there's a chance a crew member may move it later to create room for other passengers. Some bins are also reserved for special purposes. Crew luggage, safety equipment, and operational items often occupy overhead compartments that passengers assume are available. Another surprising reality is that overhead bins don't fill evenly. The front of the plane typically fills first because early boarding passengers tend to store their bags near the entrance. Meanwhile, bins toward the middle and rear of the aircraft may remain partially empty. Experienced travelers know this and take advantage of it. Instead of competing for space near their seat, they quickly scan for available bins a few rows away and place their bag there. If overhead space eventually runs out, airlines usually offer free gate checking for carry-on luggage. In many cases, gate-checked bags are returned quickly at baggage claim and avoid the struggle of lifting heavy bags into crowded bins. Once travelers understand that overhead bin space is managed rather than purely competitive, the stress surrounding boarding starts to fade. The race for bin space is largely psychological, and airlines know it. Secret number 6. Airline seat maps hide the best seats. When you open an airline seat map while booking a flight, it looks simple and transparent. Rows of seats, clearly marked aisles and windows, maybe a few highlighted upgrades. It feels like you're seeing every available option. But the truth is, seat maps are not designed to show you the best seats. They're designed to sell the most profitable ones. Airlines intentionally highlight premium seats first. Extra legroom rows, preferred seating, or seats with added fees. Bright colors and labels draw your attention immediately, making those options appear more attractive. Meanwhile, some of the best seats are hidden or temporarily blocked. Exit row seats, for example, often remain unavailable early in the booking process. Airlines may release them later during check-in or even at the gate. Frequent travelers know to check the seat map again as departure time approaches. Seat maps also hide important details about comfort. They rarely show noise levels, foot traffic, or lighting. Seats near the galley might look normal on the map, but in reality they experience constant movement, noise from food preparation, and bright lights during the flight. Seats near the bathrooms face similar problems. Passengers gather in those areas during long flights, creating extra noise and traffic that many travelers don't expect. There are also small details that seat maps never show, like misaligned windows, limited recline rows, or aisle seats that are frequently bumped by passing carts. Experienced travelers research aircraft layouts before choosing a seat. They look up real passenger reviews and seat configuration guides to understand which rows are truly comfortable. Because when it comes to airline seating, the map you see is often just the beginning of the story. Secret number 7. Missed connections are often preventable. Many travelers believe missed connections happen purely because of bad luck. Delays, weather problems, or crowded airports are usually blamed. But in reality, many missed connections are predictable and avoidable. Airlines publish something called a minimum connection time. This is the shortest amount of time allowed between two flights at a specific airport. However, minimum doesn't mean comfortable or safe. It simply means technically possible. That time assumes everything goes perfectly. Your first flight arrives on schedule. The plane taxis quickly. Your next gate is nearby. There are no crowds slowing you down. In the real world, those assumptions rarely hold true. Even a small delay, 10 or 15 minutes, can collapse a tight connection. When that happens, passengers suddenly find themselves sprinting through terminals, hoping their next flight hasn't already closed its doors. Airport layouts also play a huge role. Some airports look compact on a map, but require long walks between terminals. Others involve trains, buses, or additional security checkpoints. Experienced travelers plan for these realities. Instead of choosing the shortest possible connection, they allow extra time between flights whenever possible. Seat location also matters. Sitting near the front of the aircraft can save valuable minutes when deplaning. Every row farther back adds time as passengers slowly exit the plane. Another important strategy is traveling with carry-on luggage only. Checked bags sometimes fail to make tight connections, even if passengers manage to reach the next flight. Smart travelers don't plan for perfect travel days. They plan for small disruptions. Because in air travel, the difference between a smooth connection and a missed flight is often just a few minutes. Secret number 8. Security watches behavior more than bags. Most passengers assume airport security focuses almost entirely on what's inside their bags. Liquids, electronics, and prohibited items are what travelers usually worry about. But there's another factor that often matters just as much. Behavior. Security officers are trained to observe passengers as they move through checkpoints. They pay attention to how people walk, how they respond to questions, and how they react under pressure. Certain behaviors naturally draw attention. Rushing through the checkpoint, avoiding eye contact, or appearing overly nervous can trigger additional screening. Making jokes about security, even harmless ones, can slow the process down quickly. Another common mistake is over-explaining answers to simple questions. When passengers talk too much or try to justify every item in their bag, it can appear unusual. The most efficient travelers behave differently. They stay calm, follow instructions, and move predictably through the checkpoint. Shoes are removed quickly, electronics are ready, and liquids are placed where they're easy to inspect. When security officers ask a question, experienced travelers answer briefly and clearly without unnecessary explanations. This approach helps maintain the flow of passengers and signals cooperation rather than resistance. Another factor is group complexity. Families or large groups often receive additional attention simply because there are more bags, more movement, and more chances for confusion. Prepared travelers reduce complexity wherever possible. They organize belongings before reaching the scanner and keep the process simple. The goal isn't to act differently or pretend to be someone else. The goal is simply to be calm, prepared, and predictable. Because at airport security, the easiest passenger to process is usually the one who moves smoothly and quietly through the system. Secret number 9, complaints only work when done correctly. When something goes wrong during a trip, many travelers immediately turn to complaints. Lost luggage, damaged items, long delays, or poor service can quickly lead to frustration. But most complaints fail for a simple reason. They're written emotionally instead of strategically. Airlines and airports receive thousands of complaints every day. Messages filled with anger, exaggeration, or vague descriptions are often ignored or delayed. The complaints that actually get results follow a very different structure. Successful complaints focus on clear facts. Travelers include specific details such as the flight number, the date and time of the incident, and the exact location where the problem occurred. Documentation also makes a major difference. Photos, receipts, baggage tags, and boarding passes help verify what happened and support the traveler's claim. Without evidence, resolving a complaint becomes much more difficult. Timing is another important factor. Submitting a complaint quickly increases the chance that records, surveillance footage, and staff reports are still available. Waiting weeks or months often reduces the likelihood of a meaningful response. The tone of the complaint matters as well. Professional, polite language encourages cooperation. Aggressive or emotional messages can make companies defensive rather than helpful. Experienced travelers understand that complaints are a process, not an instant solution. Most outcomes involve partial compensation, travel vouchers, or explanations rather than full reimbursement. By documenting issues carefully and communicating clearly, travelers increase their chances of receiving a fair resolution. Because in the world of airline complaints, clarity and professionalism almost always work better than anger. Secret number 10. Airports track passenger flow in real time. Many passengers believe airport crowds form randomly. Lines appear suddenly, security becomes slow, and terminals feel chaotic. But behind the scenes, modern airports monitor passenger movement constantly. Sensors, cameras, and software systems track how people move through the terminal. They measure wait times, walking speeds, and congestion at security checkpoints, gates, and immigration areas. This data helps airports manage thousands of travelers efficiently. If one security checkpoint becomes overloaded, staff may be redirected to open additional lanes. If congestion builds in certain corridors, digital signs or announcements may guide passengers toward alternative routes. These systems are designed to reduce bottlenecks and keep people moving. Passenger flow data also helps airports optimize retail locations. Stores, cafes, and kiosks are strategically placed where travelers naturally slow down or gather. That's why shops often appear right after security checkpoints or along major walking routes between terminals. Smart travelers use this knowledge to their advantage. Instead of rushing into crowded areas immediately, they observe patterns. Sometimes waiting just a few minutes before entering a security line can allow a surge of passengers to clear. Many airports now display estimated wait times on mobile apps or digital boards. These tools help travelers choose the fastest checkpoint. Understanding passenger flow changes how you see the airport. Crowds aren't always random. Many of them are temporary waves moving through the system. Travelers who watch those patterns can often avoid the worst congestion and move through the airport much more efficiently.
Secret number 11. Loyalty programs reward predictable behavior. Airline loyalty programs are often advertised as rewards for frequent travel. The more you fly, the more points and benefits you receive. While flight frequency certainly matters, airlines also track something else: passenger behavior. Airlines collect large amounts of data about how travelers interact with their services. This includes booking patterns, spending habits, and how often passengers contact customer support. Passengers who regularly purchase upgrades, baggage services, or onboard products are often viewed as valuable customers. But behavior during travel can also influence how airlines perceive passengers. Travelers who follow procedures smoothly, rarely dispute charges, and interact calmly with staff tend to create fewer operational problems. Over time, these passengers may receive targeted offers, upgrades, or priority services. On the other hand, travelers who constantly challenge policies, dispute fees, or escalate conflicts can sometimes be flagged as higher maintenance customers. This doesn't mean passengers should avoid reporting serious problems. Legitimate complaints and safety issues should always be addressed. However, experienced travelers choose their battles carefully. They document issues when necessary, but avoid unnecessary confrontation over minor inconveniences. Loyalty programs ultimately reward a combination of travel frequency, spending, and predictable behavior. Passengers who move smoothly through the system are easier for airlines to manage, and those passengers often receive the most consistent perks. Understanding this dynamic helps travelers make smarter decisions about when to speak up and when to simply move forward. Because sometimes the best travel strategy is knowing when cooperation works better than conflict. Secret number 12: the calmest travelers win. After all the strategies, systems, and airport secrets, one principle ties everything together. The calmest travelers usually have the smoothest journeys. Airports are environments designed around pressure. Crowds, announcements, long lines, and time constraints can easily create stress. When people feel rushed, they make mistakes. They forget to remove items from bags. They argue with staff. They panic when plans change. That reaction often makes travel even more difficult. Calm travelers approach the airport differently. They prepare before arriving. They know security procedures, organize their bags, and understand their flight details in advance. Instead of reacting emotionally to every delay or announcement, they observe what's happening around them. They watch how lines move, how boarding progresses, and how staff manage crowds. This awareness allows them to adjust calmly instead of rushing blindly. Airline and airport staff also respond differently to calm passengers. When someone communicates politely and clearly, employees are usually more willing to help. A calm traveler asking for assistance is much easier to work with than a frustrated passenger raising their voice. Even when problems occur, like delays or seat changes, calm travelers handle them strategically. They gather information, explore options, and make decisions without adding unnecessary stress to the situation. Over time, this mindset reduces travel friction dramatically. Because while airports may seem unpredictable, many situations become manageable when you approach them with preparation and patience. In the end, knowledge helps you understand the system, but calmness helps you navigate it. And travelers who master both often discover that flying becomes far easier than most people expect. Mistake number 13: arriving too early or too late. Bonus secret. Most travelers think the earlier they arrive at the airport, the better. Others push their luck and arrive at the last possible minute. Surprisingly, both approaches can create unnecessary stress. Arriving extremely early may sound safe, but it often leads to long waiting periods inside expensive terminals. The longer you stay in the airport, the more likely you are to spend money on overpriced food, drinks, and impulse purchases. Long waits also increase fatigue before the flight even begins. On the other hand, arriving too late creates a completely different problem. Airports are unpredictable environments. Security lines can suddenly grow, check-in counters can close earlier than expected, and traffic around the terminal can slow everything down. Experienced travelers aim for a balanced arrival time. For domestic flights, arriving about 2 hours before departure usually provides enough margin for security lines, baggage drop, and unexpected delays. For international flights, 3 hours is often recommended. But timing also depends on the airport itself. Some airports process passengers quickly, while others are known for long security lines during peak hours. Smart travelers research their departure airport ahead of time and adjust their arrival strategy accordingly. Because in air travel, timing is everything, and arriving at the right moment can save both time and money. Mistake number 14: ignoring boarding gate changes. One of the most common airport mistakes is assuming the gate listed on your boarding pass will remain the same. Airports change gates far more often than most passengers realize. Operational issues, aircraft availability, and scheduling adjustments can cause last-minute changes even after boarding passes are issued. Travelers who rely only on the original gate printed on their ticket risk missing important announcements. This mistake often happens when passengers become distracted. After clearing security, many people immediately focus on shopping, eating, or browsing their phones. Meanwhile, gate changes are quietly announced over loudspeakers or updated on digital screens. If a passenger isn't paying attention, they might not notice the change until it's too late. Experienced travelers develop a simple habit. They check the airport departure screen multiple times before boarding begins. Even if they already know their gate, they verify it periodically while waiting. Airline mobile apps can also send gate change notifications directly to your phone. Enabling those alerts provides another layer of protection. Gate changes are a normal part of airport operations, but passengers who stay informed avoid the confusion and last-minute sprints that many travelers experience. Mistake number 15, overpacking carry-on bags. Carry-on luggage is meant to make travel easier, but overpacking it can create unexpected problems. Many travelers try to bring as much as possible into the cabin to avoid checked baggage fees. While that seems like a smart strategy, it often backfires. Heavy or oversized carry-on bags slow down the boarding process. Passengers struggle to lift them into overhead bins, block the aisle while rearranging items, and sometimes cause delays for everyone behind them. Overpacked bags can also attract extra attention at security checkpoints. Dense or cluttered bags are harder for scanners to read clearly, which increases the chance of manual inspections. Another common issue occurs during boarding when overhead bins begin to fill. Large bags that technically meet size limits may still struggle to fit properly once other luggage is already stored. Frequent travelers keep their carry-on simple and organized. They pack only essential items and ensure electronics and liquids are easy to access. A well-organized bag moves through security faster and fits into overhead bins more easily. In many cases, traveling lighter doesn't just reduce stress, it speeds up every step of the airport process.
And there you have it, some of the most important airport secrets and travel mistakes every passenger should understand before flying. From hidden airport pricing traps and unpredictable security rules to boarding psychology and smarter seat choices, these small insights can completely change the way you travel. Most passengers move through airports reacting to whatever happens around them. But smart travelers do something different. They prepare, observe, and stay calm. When you understand how airports actually work, flying becomes far less stressful. You spend less money, avoid unnecessary delays, and move through the terminal with far more confidence than the average traveler. Remember, airports are designed to move thousands of people quickly, and the passengers who understand the system are the ones who benefit the most. Now we want to hear from you. Which of these travel secrets surprised you the most? Or do you have your own airport hack that makes flying easier? Share it in the comments below. Your tip might help another traveler on their next trip. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our weekly travel tips, airport hacks, and insider secrets designed to make every trip smoother, smarter, and stress-free. Until next time, travel smart, stay calm, and enjoy the journey.